I am Dana, and I'm very unsure of my framing for this video, but I'm doing my best, so that's what we're sticking with. This is how we're doing it. So I've had a little series going. I'll link one of the videos here. I had to check that I was recording then. I'm not having a very good day, but I have started a little series where I talk about the ways that I sort of like feel and deal with different emotions as an autistic person, because it is one of those things where I think a lot of us, or at least I, really struggle with knowing what it is I'm feeling in the moment and how I'm supposed to react to it and how I'm supposed to show that feeling, and just everything that goes into feeling things as a person is kind of either like all or nothing for me. It's like, it feels like there's a lot to each and every emotion essentially. So I've been doing videos talking about like each one in a degree of order that makes sense to my brain, and I feel like maybe the first one that I should have made is this one, but I didn't have all of the words for it, and that's where I love the discussion that we get to have here, because it was one of you guys, and I should have remembered your bloody name for this, I'm sorry that I didn't, but one of you guys commented saying, it's not so much that I feel like my emotions, or like your emotions, you know, the comment said, it's not so much that I feel like my emotions are bigger than other people's, so much as I feel the full end of the spectrum for every single emotion, you know? It's not that I have the ability to be more sad or more happy or more angry or more surprised or whatever else than anybody else, you know? It's just that the thing that might make somebody else the happiest person in the world, I feel that from, like, when I'm happy, that's how happy I am, you know? It's just that it's either all or nothing a lot of the time. And I feel like it's explanations like that in the past have perhaps caused the sort of stereotype that autistic people don't really feel anything and that we completely lack empathy and we just don't have emotions and don't care about other people and blah blah blah. And, you know, like, obviously some autistic people lack empathy, some autistic people don't feel all that much, like, that's fine, that's just the way that some of us are. But it's become a massive stereotype, and I think definitely part of the reason that it wasn't noticed in me sooner was that I do feel things in such an extreme way. And it was this comment that helped me to, like, I feel like more so fully understand the way in which I'm feeling things. Like, it is a case of like, I'm happy or I'm not, I'm sad or I'm not, and it's rare, I would say, it's not never, but it's rare that I just like feel a little bit sad or I'm just in a decent mood, you know? I feel like the vast majority of my life is very, very neutral, but it does mean that as soon as something negative happens, as soon as I'm burnt out, like, you know, the shift happens and it is real extreme. I feel like I can go from being absolutely fine, neutral, nothing's bothering me, to absolute like rock bottom very, very fucking quickly, you know? And similarly, I can go from rock bottom very, very quickly to being like absolutely fine, dancing around in my bedroom, having the time of my life, you know? And I think that for me, it's very obvious that that's where past diagnoses of bipolar were looked at. And it was the fact that like it just doesn't line up with the way that bipolar works, you know? Like, none of it lined up properly. But for someone that's spending 15 minutes with me in a GP appointment hearing that, it sounds exactly like it, doesn't it? And I think one of the big things that really inspired the series is that, like, we do have this stereotype that autistic people just don't feel anything. And like I say, I definitely think that throughout my life, that's probably one of the main reasons that autism wasn't really looked at for me, because I show too much. But it's also the thing of, like, I only show what I don't know about, you know? Like, when I'm watching something, I do a little happy stim or whatever, I'm very, very, very rarely actually intentionally stimming. Like, I do have times when I'm overwhelmed and I intentionally stim because I know it'll make me feel better, but it wouldn't be like my natural thing to go to. But when I'm happy and I stim, it's completely like, I don't notice I'm doing it, it's not intentional, it's just the way that I react to the thing that's making me happy, because I feel that extreme level of happiness just from like watching my show or buying my favourite food or whatever, you know? But when I'm feeling something where I'm like, I know that people are expecting a reaction from me here, you know, like when I, to take it to a really dark place real quickly, sorry, when I met up with my family after my dad had died, like, we're talking like I'd gotten the phone call that my dad had died while I was sat in a fucking Starbucks, and then phoned the rest of my family and went and met them at a hospital, not the one my dad was at, it was a whole thing. But everyone else was like, you know, crying and being very outwardly sad. And I definitely didn't look happy. I was having a bad fucking day, like my dad had just died. I was as sad as anyone else there, but I just didn't show it in the same way, you know? I was very aware of like, we've got shit to do, essentially. Like, it's not the time to cry and be sad and whatever else, I'll do that later on my own. Like, even when it's emotions that I do know how I want to react to it. I often don't feel like I am able to react in the way that I want in front of people. I don't like my emotions being perceived. I'm scared of doing it wrong a lot of the time. I don't, you know, I've had 1,001 times when I've been sad about something or angry about something or happy about something and no one else around me's felt that same way, so I've been completely shut down. Everyone thought that I'm really odd and weird and whatever else. So I would rather just keep my reactions and keep my emotions to myself and see how everyone else reacts, and then, you know, put a little something into that reaction myself if I'm feeling the same way. And I think it's also a thing of, not always, but especially in like tense situations, whatever, I feel like my emotions are quite logical, you know? Like if someone gives me a genuine apology, I'm immediately over the thing that they did that upset or angered me or whatever else. Like, as long as I feel like people are being honest and their genuine emotions are coming through, I feel like my emotions can very, very quickly change based on the logical thing of like, well, they didn't mean to, it was an accident, they had this context that they were going off. Like, I very quickly am like, oh yeah, I see that, I get that, I would have reacted in that same way, everything's fine now. And I again feel like that's not necessarily something that other people are able to do because of how many awkward situations I've had when that's happened, and they're still like tiptoeing around me and I'm like, I thought everything was fine now, like we've been through this, you know? And like in saying all this, I feel like I'm making it sound like my emotions are very like flippant and I'm like constantly back and forth and up and down. But like I say, like the vast majority of the time I am just very neutral. It's just fine, you know? Like, I don't feel like I have that many days where I'm in a particularly good mood. I don't have that many days when I'm in a particularly bad mood. It's just life, you know? If something happens to influence my emotions, my emotions are influenced. If not, then I just have my baseline existence. And I feel like that's, again, you know, like a different experience to a lot of people. And I'm not saying it's better or worse, or that no one else experiences this, or that every autistic person experiences this, you know? Like, maybe it's just me, maybe it's me and one of the neurotypical, maybe it's, I don't know, you know? I just would hope that some other people relate to some degree, and I like starting the discussion around it because I really do feel like it helps me to work out stuff in my own head a lot and helps me to just have things a little bit more figured out and be a little bit more aware of myself and what's going on and everything. And I know this isn't like the most like informational in-depth video, but it's one that I just think is kind of necessary to go along with the rest of the series, now that I have like found, thanks to one of you lovely viewers, found the actual like language of what I've been meaning to say at the start of them all, you know? And just sort of explain where it's coming from. And it might just be that I'm from a family and from a lot of, I've never been around people that talk about emotions and that show emotions and do all that kind of thing, you know? Like, the emotions that I've seen have been on TV, have been in movies. I saw my parents cry like a handful of times throughout my entire life, you know? And with my mother, it was predominantly after my dad had died. Like, I feel like I'm very behind on like being able to tell what my own emotions are and being able to know what I'm feeling and being able to, you know, actually like work within my emotions and deal with them and figure shit out. Like, I feel like I'm very, very behind on it, and this is going to be very helpful, and having the discussion around it and having other people talk about how they feel and how they react to things and everything is very, very useful for me. So I would love it if you wanted to comment on this video. Did you see that segue? Is it called a segue? I went straight into that. That was, if I hadn't interrupted myself, that would have almost been a real YouTube moment. But yeah, I'd love if you commented and tell me how you feel, like you feel emotions, if you feel like you do feel them bigger than other people, if you feel like you feel them on like the extreme ends of the spectrum like I do, whatever you think, whatever thoughts you've had, I would love to hear. If you wanted to like this video, I believe it helps me within the algorithm, and if you want to subscribe as well, that'd be really cool, because we are still, I've been saying it for like weeks now, but the moment I hit 9,000 followers, I was like, I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. So like, it's nearly at 10,000, and that's insane and massive and huge. And I feel like I need to like figure out something to do to celebrate, but like it's 10,000, you know, it's not a million, I'm not rich, I haven't got money. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do to celebrate. Maybe I'll just do like a little live stream and have some cake or something, I don't know. I'll figure something out. If you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them as well. But yeah, so you can also follow me over on TikTok and Instagram if you would like to. I'm trying to be more active over there. You can also follow me on Ko-fi and Patreon if you want to give me your money. You don't have to, there's no pressure. The whole point of posting on YouTube, like, first and foremost, is that it's free and anyone can access it. But if you want to help me out a little bit, it's very nice when people do, you know, I really appreciate it. But I don't want to put pressure on anyone. You do not have to. There is no, like, you know, it's fine. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.